Okay, what are we looking at right now?
So this picture is very interesting. We were in 2010. We were celebrating the Silver Jubilee of Texas Instruments in India. We were trying to make a collage and all that for the Silver Jubilee celebrations. And I incidentally was made the convener for the Silver Jubilee celebrations, which went on throughout the year. We stumbled upon this picture, and very interesting picture because this was the first private satellite dish that was brought into India in 1985. And this came into our Miller Road office, the Sona Towers office, and Miller Road in Bangalore. And it came in a bullock cart.
Meet Narahari KS. He was the Director of Communications for the India office of US-based semiconductor manufacturer Texas Instruments between 2007 and 2014. The black and white picture we're looking at is grainy and faded, but the bullock cart Narahari mentioned is clear as day. It's parked outside what was Texas Instruments' first ever office in India. On it sits a massive metal satellite dish. There are a few men gathered around it. One is hauling the dish off the cart, another is standing by the doorway watching with his arms crossed, and halfway between them is another man dressed in a tucked-in shirt and trousers with what looks like a clipboard in one hand. I have to ask, why would they use a bullock cart?
Now, the reasons are, there's no, we couldn't figure out on a single reason for that. One was that, our roads were pretty narrow for a large truck to come in. Today, some of these roads like Cunningham Road and Miller Road have become a little more wider, but those days, in 1985, the roads were not that wide. And another thought is that, there was a truck strike at that time, and so we couldn't get a truck.
I'll be honest. Before Narahari told me the story behind the bullock cart, I assumed it was just another exotic cliche. A US-based tech company enters India using a bullock cart. I figured it was someone's poor attempt at symbolism. But turns out it wasn't that at all. Even in 1985, Texas Instruments had to contend with Bangalore's biggest bottleneck. It's roads. I guess some things never change. The picture was taken just after TI set up its India office in 1985. This was the first time a multinational company was establishing a dedicated R&D center here. In today's language, we would call it a Global Capability Center or GCC. And in many ways, that image of a satellite dish arriving on a bullock cart represents the beginning of India's, and more specifically, Bangalore's first wave of GCCs.
I saw this as a great story because on one side is technology coming in, and on the other side is a very traditional vehicle, especially for India, that it came in a bullock cart to the TI office. So this attracted a lot of attention also, this satellite dish coming in.
Jump to the 1990s and liberalization threw the doors open for Fortune 100 companies. They were all looking for a slice of India's vast, educated, English-speaking, and most importantly, affordable talent pool. GE, CitiGroup, JP Morgan, Motorola. Just like that, India's back office revolution began. These centers weren't the sleek innovation hubs we know today. Well, not yet. You see, back then they were built for efficiency, for process, for output. Imagine rows of cubicles, long hours, very precise deliverables. It was the beginning of India's reputation as the world's back office. Today, there are nearly 2,000 GCCs across India. They employ over 2 million professionals and generate more than $40 billion in annual revenue. But the kind of work they do has completely transformed. Few things capture that shift as vividly as the physical workplaces they now inhabit. Think yoga studios, custom imported carpets, hyper-real simulations of customer experiences abroad. GCCs have come a long way from that bullock cart parked outside Texas Instruments. I'm Rahil Philippos, and in this episode of 90,000 Hours, we step inside these miniature headquarters to understand how their workplaces have evolved alongside the actual work they are now taking on. am at a corporate office in Manyata Tech Park in North Bangalore. The corridors are wide and carpeted. I cross about half a dozen meeting rooms, all named after Ayurvedic herbs. I spot a salad bar that could rival most cafes. My guide today is Praveen Mysore. He's leading me to the pièce de résistance of this entire office tour.
So this is where we have all our, fitness instructors come in and a lot of employees. Please come.
Thank you. Oh, wow, this is amazing.
It's a little yoga room, yeah. So that's
We are standing in the middle of a brightly lit, open studio with a low styrofoam-lined ceiling. It's for acoustics, Praveen explains to me. One wall is a full-length mirror with a ballet-style handlebar running across it, like something out of a dance studio. On the opposite side is a long, low cushion bench with dozens of neatly stacked weights tucked beneath it. And how often do you have classes in here?
We have weekly ones, yoga class. And then here it's the same space where you have the dance, sweat, Pilates, yoga. And there's one more, which we recently onboarded. I can't remember.
Is it mandatory? Like, what's
No,
the
it's
reception
not.
like? Okay.
It's
but
not.
Do people typically...
They do. The idea is really give a variety of things for people that works, try to accommodate as much as possible to encourage people to live into that, to fit that schedule into their work. So.
Praveen tells me fitness, both the physical and the mental kind, is central to the work culture here. Employees are encouraged to schedule workout classes even during work hours. This is, after all, Lululemon's office in India. You will very quickly realize, just like I did, why the attrition rate here is less than 2%.
We're very much integrated into, sweat life. That's our culture. Back in Vancouver, Seattle, what we've really replicated that here.
Praveen is the Vice President of Global Product Technology at Lululemon. He's also the head of its India unit, which the Canadian-based athletic wear brand refers to as its tech hub. He was responsible for setting it up back in 2021. That was around the time that the floodgates really opened and what many now call India's GCC boom officially began. A bunch of global multinationals started to set up India units. Many of them were retailers like Lululemon who hadn't started officially selling their products in India yet. Typically, these teams based out of India would support functions like IT or finance, HR, customer services.
So right now we are predominantly technology. So we support all business functions. Typically in a retailer, we have everything from finance to HR systems to finance systems. Product, we call product because we're a vertical product or a vertical retailer. So we own everything from concept to design to product development. When we say product is apparel, development to merchandising, allocations, guest-facing systems within the store. So we support all those systems and technology solutions for those functions. We're also big in hiring ML engineers, and we're now exploring Gen AI and AI solutions as well. So data science and AI is also big capabilities here.
Analysts say since the pandemic, a new GCC is set up pretty much every single week. We'll get into why in just a bit. But first, Praveen shows me the office robo.
It's called Temi. It's a kind of a bot system. So we've configured that to welcome guests, take them on a tour, etc. Yeah. So I don't know if it's.
I assumed it was like a washing, like a vacuum cleaner or something.
No. Hello. Nothing it follows.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Now, Temi, the 2-foot Wally-looking robo, hasn't always been at Manyata. Praveen's first team worked out of a small office in Bangalore's upmarket Lavelle Road, which coincidentally is also where TI's India story began. But it didn't take long before they realized they just needed a bigger space.
We came in right in the middle of COVID. We didn't know, and then the wave 1 or 2 in India hit us really hard when we came. And so it was a slow start, ramp up. And then in 23, we really beefed up our teams, and in 24 we moved here, and now we are 330 plus. Yeah.
Now, they find themselves in Manyata, which is a sprawling business district in North Bangalore that houses one of the highest concentrations of Fortune 500 companies anywhere in the world. 20 of these GCCs, including Lululemon, are operated by Answer. This is a company that's been around for nearly 2 decades and has helped more than 120 multinationals set up capability centers in India. Companies like Answer offer what they call GCC as a service. They help global firms build, grow, and scale their India operations from the ground up. Apart from helping them build their teams and sort out compliance and regulatory issues, one of the core services it offers is office design, finding the right space and shaping it to reflect each company's culture, brand, and values.
So when we think about the design, right? So there is a lot of research that the design team does before they go for the meeting itself. Like typically we go back, we look at a lot of their existing offices and say they have retail stores and all that. There's a lot of work that goes as research to understand retail formats, what from the store can be replicated in the center, because end of the day, people who sit here, not all of them can visit the center, right? So how do you then get an experience of what the business is? So there's a lot of research that goes in.
That is Smita Hemige. She is managing director at Answer. I met up with her at an Answer managed office space just about a hop, skip, and jump away from Lululemon. She took me behind the scenes of those initial conversations her team has with clients, right before they set up their new India digs.
There is a lot of workshops that get done. And in the course of the workshop, what we do is we actually ask them and we send them a detailed RFQ document or request for a lot of the information that we need on how many meeting rooms, what's the density going to be, how many, what's their view on collaboration, what are probable design philosophies. And with that questionnaire, we actually go back and draw out the design elements. So we would have taken inspiration from some of their other flagship offices across the world and then looked at what they do as a business and then replicate and bring in some of those when we build the design.
With most of these offices, flexibility is everything. At Lululemon, for instance, Praveen showed me how one wall of the yoga studio folds away completely. So when there's a larger crowd, the studio opens up into the cafeteria, transforming it into a single, seamless space that can host town halls, conferences, or any team events. For the people who design and manage these offices, flexibility means something very specific. They need to be able to strip a space down to its bare bones and rebuild it for the next occupant, even if that next company belongs to a completely different industry or brand philosophy or culture.
Like, let's take Delta Airlines, right? Now, the carpet that they use in the lounge area, the entrance reception area in the Delta Technology Hub in Bangalore is the same carpet that they use in the first class lounge, the 360 lounge. So what we are looking to do is recreate a lot of these special elements, or you can have a parts of an aircraft that is being used inside the office here. Now, if I worked in Atlanta, I can see planes taking off and landing, right? So now my blinds in the office are actually printed to look like they're actually flights taking off and landing. So they give you that same busy look and feel. So a lot of it is about how do you recreate the same experience for employees so that they feel that they're part of the same enterprise. Like the Best Buy design area has something called Geek Squad. Now, if you go to any Best Buy store back in the US, Geek Squad is their technology support arm. Now, they don't operate in India, but the intent is how do you get access to every part of the business so that you understand what you're building for.
American home improvement retailer Lowe's did this by building out a digital twin of its in-store experience. This is an interactive replica of a typical Lowe's store that an associate sitting in the India office can explore with the help of an AR headset. Lululemon has also done something similar. Inside its tech hub, there's a mock checkout counter, complete with a cash register interface. This is a space where engineers can simulate the in-store experience and troubleshoot bugs before they even reach an actual customer. Now, all of this starts with something most GCCs swear by: their handbook. It's the playbook that ensures that a workspace in Bangalore feels exactly like the one in Atlanta or Amsterdam, down to the last stitch on the couch or the shade of grey on a conference room wall. To understand just how those handbooks come to life, I spoke to Chinmay Anant. She's the director at Adrian's, which is one of the architecture and workplace design firms behind several global GCC offices here in India.
So when we speak to a lot of these organizations, especially the big organizations who have evolved over a period of time or even over a period of experience, certainly do have a guidebook. It could be about their brands, it could be about their culture, it could be about how they work. But essentially, most of these people also have a company identity, right? Which becomes the fundamental definition layer for any organization today. We worked with, yes, like you rightly said, Target is one name, but we've worked with PepsiCo, we worked with Amgen, and each one of them, coming from a different sector, one from the F&B category, one from the industrial category, one from a pharma category. What holds them together eventually is a brand. You know what Nike is, you know what De Beers are. It's just the name that tells you what they are, right? But beyond that, how do they communicate? How do they function? How do they evolve as a people culture to be known as a good employer? That becomes important for us. So while a lot of these organizations say this is how we work in PepsiCo, we're working with British Petroleum now, another one of the largest GCC pieces happening in India currently. They say this is the BP way of working, right? However, we understand that people who write these guides could be sitting in any part of the world. They could be sitting in the US, in the UK, in India, somewhere in the Southeast. How do you contextualize what you are thinking of to the people who use it? Because eventually, irrespective of what form of architecture or design you are dealing with, you are thinking of placemaking for people, right? So what we help organizations do is, yes, most of them do come with their guidelines. We say, let's understand them. We want to decode them for you. And then we will tell you how this guide works for you if you're in India.
Now, these spaces are meant to blur the line between the global store and the India office. They're meant to be a visual reminder of the fact that the work being done here isn't just support work anymore. But is that always the case? A couple decades ago, GCC served one main purpose: cost arbitrage. For massive multinationals, outsourcing certain key functions to a faraway office where talent was plenty and salaries were cheap just made sense. Back then, GCCs were called captive centers. These captive centers were expected to get the job done. It was all about the execution. But as time went on, they started shifting from just plain old back office work to something more strategic, more tactical.
The cost benefit still is there, maybe not as much as it used to be back then, but the outlook towards how companies look at getting work done in India has definitely changed over the years. And I think it got completely accelerated 5 years back with COVID.
That's Anuj Seth. He's the managing director at AliveCore India. AliveCore is a US-based medical devices company that specializes in developing hardware and software for ECGs. But even before his 5-year stint building the company's India unit, Anuj has spent the last 2 decades in GCCs. In fact, that was one thing I noticed during my deep dive. Once you're in, you stay in. The GCC talent pool usually moves from one center to another, but rarely leaves the ecosystem altogether. Anuj, for one, has seen the whole transformation from BPO to captive center to what we now call global capability centers.
When I started with GE, that was my first stint at a healthcare company. And I would still say GE would predominantly be an exception to the norm. They still operate predominantly in a GCC mode then and now. But like I said, beyond GE, I've worked with a lot of other healthcare startups as well. The initial few startups was predominantly saying, hey, hire a bunch of engineers. This is what is the job that needs to get done. Build a team around it. And, it's about just delivery. Right? The ownership, end-to-end execution still to a large extent was managed by the global headquarters, wherever that be, whether it's the US or Europe or elsewhere.
Now, Anuj says there is a lot more ownership. In the last 2 decades, he says the focus has shifted from just being instructed to solve a problem in a very specific way to actually identifying problems and finding solutions. He says India's GCCs finally have a seat at the table. It's been a long time coming, but things really got fast-tracked by COVID.
One way of looking at it is a lot of companies actually saved a lot of money the moment it became work from home. Right, your cost of operations drastically reduced because the day-to-day expenses of running an office overnight became zero, literally zero, once COVID hit. So a lot of companies landed up with surplus cash in a way, right? And one way of figuring out what to do with it was, let's build teams. India happened to be right at the forefront of that, and I think that's where the so-called boom started. And I think the terms GCC started being used and overused starting that point in time. But the good thing is it is not only being looked at from a cost arbitrage perspective, but also from making sure that these are centers of innovation. So that is one big shift that has happened over the years.
US President Donald Trump's recent announcement of a $100,000 fee on fresh H-1B visas got the industry even more excited. Analysts started to predict that global multinationals will now lean even harder on these hubs. GCCs, after all, seem like the natural solution to the visa hike. But when my colleague Mrunmayee Kulkarni spoke to multiple employees in the space, they sounded skeptical. Yes, there are plenty of success stories. You hear of units like Anuj's that are focused on product engineering, capability building, and innovation. Some have even spawned global leaders like Suresh Kumar, the CTO of Walmart, or Ankur Mittal, CTO of Lowe's India. But there are also dozens of centers where the hierarchy hasn't really budged. Only a handful of GCCs have CXO-level leaders working in India offices. Sure, some employees are chief something officers, but they have very little say in the matter. The thing is, regardless of how fast the work is evolving though, one thing is clear. GCCs are booming. By 2030, they could employ as many as 4.5 million people. And everyone wants to dip their toes in India now. Some have already found the perfect entry point, a ready-made office. I met Smita, the managing director at Answer, at J Block. Now, this is a building just around the corner from the Lululemon office in Manyata Tech Park. I told you earlier how Answer operates around 20 GCCs here, but this building is different from all of them. Welcome to the GCC waiting room.
So the philosophy that we started when we were looking at, these incubation spaces for Answer was, our customers, as part of their incubation, used to be housed in co-working spaces. Now, very quickly they realized that these co-working spaces did not give them the same amenities that their headquarters had, like access to meeting rooms, cabins, a space that was co-branded for the location. Invariably, if you took like 10, 15, 20 seats, you wouldn't find some of these. Or even if you took 50, right? So the ask then was, can we create an enterprise-ready incubation space which gives them the flexibility and agility to help them grow and scale?
The reason I call J Block the waiting room for GCCs is because this is where they start out. This is where global companies build their first team, scope out the market, figure out their India strategy. This is where they go from 0 to 1. At least that's how Answer envisions it.
So imagine that somebody is signing up and they say, I have growth plans, but my growth plan for the first 6 months is 30 people. Now, I can't decide a permanent space for you based on the 30 people that you've said you're going to come and have in the office. So what you would do then is give them incubation so that they can stabilize over that 6 months. They can figure out what their demand plan or what their capability map can be. And they can also understand and see, the appetite and, how quickly they want to be moving. They don't have to make all decisions on get-go right at the start.
J Block feels a little bit like the IKEA of offices. You know how you walk through an IKEA showroom from one kitchen to the next or one study to the next, and each setup somehow looks completely different, even though they're just a few meters apart? Each one has its own personality, its own vibe. Well, that's exactly what J Block is like. Except instead of kitchens and bedrooms, it's offices. each one designed to reflect the company that occupies it.
So this is like a space that you can come, and it's for a smaller, it's for one of our mid-market clients. Okay. They don't want too much space. They, I think, want some 8 or 10 seats. Okay. So this is what's been reserved for them.
There's like for listeners who can't see, there's like a gold bar in the center of the table and the thing running. Is it just a design?
It's only a design element.
It's a design element. Wow, it's very cool.
We are standing inside an office space with floor-to-ceiling wooden panels. One wall is lined with massive indoor plants, which is giving it a little bit of a rainforest vibe. 3 long tables dotted with ergonomic office chairs take up most of the roughly 20 by 40 foot room. Each table is separated by a minimalist gold bar that runs through the middle. It's simple, but it's also pretty bougie. Smita tells me that the occupants of this very nice office will be moving to a new space pretty soon, which means this one will be stripped down and redone for its next occupant.
So these are like what I said, right? Like smaller spaces. They're inside a specific area. It's access controlled. It'll have minimal branding on the walls based on what's possible, based on what's the requirement, and people have enough space to work in the office.
The next few mini offices are a little more functional. Some are open plan, others have cubicles. But what really stood out to me were the common areas. Training rooms, breakout spaces, cafeterias. They were all plush.
If you go to the cafeteria, you'll get to see a tuck shop, you'll get to see everyone's got a food app that you actually can go and book your food on, and you scan and then you have your lunch. So everything is under, so employees don't really have to go. They get access to everything that you need within an office. But some of this is shared. It's not yours.
These shared spaces double as networking zones. These are informal hubs where teams from different companies working out of J Block can connect and collaborate. It's a kind of community that you don't usually find in regular co-working setups. That's where SmartWorks spotted an opportunity. The nearly decade-old flexible workspace company, which went public just last year, has been serving GCC clients for a long time now. But at some point, it realized that regular co-working spaces just were not enough. GCCs needed something more customizable, more secure, and something that was built to global headquarters standards.
We knew there is a gap in the market in India which we are bridging, where a lot of your in supply continued to be non-institutional across all the cities of India. And by nature, they didn't end up offering all the aspirational amenities all packaged together, along with your office being literally bundled as a service together, where right from design and fit out to your day-to-day ops, everything managed together, where the space was more about a productivity hub, where in some manner or shape you're providing happiness to the end user, while the employer continues to not have the hassle of managing the office.
That's Harsh Binani, the co-founder of SmartWorks. Just last month, SmartWorks launched Smart Vantage, office spaces specifically designed and managed for GCCs.
So we believe the flex space as a segment has arrived and it's thriving. Today, from less than 0%, it's scaled up to more than about 10% of total commercial real estate in India, which is in a market which continues to grow. And just to give you a sample, India, after 75 years plus of independence, has about 1 billion square foot of office space. And by all estimates, it appears that the next 10 to 15 years will have another 1 billion square foot added. So you can only imagine how the velocity is driving this. And behind this consistent growth and the velocity, one major driver has been GCCs.
Now, Harsh said to pull in top-tier talent, GCCs have to provide top-tier amenities. And that starts with world-class office spaces. From yoga studios to digital twins to fully managed co-working hubs, the Indian GCC has evolved far beyond its back-office beginnings. And if the bullock cart outside Texas Instruments marked the start of this journey, then these sleek, flexible, globally designed offices mark how far it's come. Because in today's India, the story of work is being written quite literally in the spaces where it happens.
Thank you for listening to 90,000 Hours, a podcast about the future of careers and workplaces from the newsroom of the Ken. This episode was edited and mixed by my wonderful colleague Rajiv CN. It was hosted and produced by me, Rahil Philippos. See you next time.